welcome to this episode of the Corporate Escapists TV show and podcast. I am your host, Christine Innes. I am delighted to have the very beautiful Laura joining us today. Welcome, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be in your space and in your environment. And I'm looking forward to where this conversation flows today.
Oh, me too, me too. Look, we met at an event a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh my God, I could just literally feel your energy. I'm so drawn, I love energy, positive energy. And that's literally what I felt when I met you. So super excited to have you on the show. Everyone knows that I get a little bit carried away, so I'll just pause for a moment. I will hand over to you to introduce yourself, and then we can have some amazing conversations.
Yes, thank you so much. And likewise, beautiful. Your energy was so magnetic. And I'm like, I need to connect with you more. So it's amazing to be here a couple of weeks later. And lovely to meet your community. My name is Laura. And I always love the question of who are you and how do you want to introduce yourself? Because there's a whole variety of things that make up the whole person. And being an identity and business coach, I always love this question because sometimes it changes every time when I get asked. I'm like, what's present and what's relevant to this season of my life and what has led me into this moment? So I guess to introduce myself, I'm the co-founder of the Sisterhood Movement, which is an incredible women's space here in the Gold Coast, soon to be interstate, which is exciting. And I've also been a coach now for 15 plus years. And although these are things that I have created, it's not also just the whole part of the identity and who I am. So my background has been a rebellious black sheep of the family, and really learning to navigate my part in the world, who I was as a person and what I wanted to create and what also had meaning and significance to me. And I found over a period of time that some of the things that have absolutely lit me up that I would do for free, that I could spend so much of my time and energy around and never lose energy, is human behavior. I have loved and adored studying personal development and the way in which we are, who we become, how we become, our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, our habits, then what we create as a life purpose. And I think some of that is so innate and then so influenced as well by where we place ourselves in the world. So I feel like who I am is constantly evolving, and I love exploring other people and who they are and how they came to be who they are as well. So that is the chapter I'm at in the moment. That is the season that I'm in, which is expansion and creating community, business, and spending most of my time around that space.
Oh, I love it so much. I think that's so important that everyone realizes that we are ever evolving. Like if we're not evolving, I think like you're like stagnant. You're like that heartbeat monitor, like you're just flatlining. And you need to expand. You're gonna have to experience the highs and lows of life, but that shapes you as a human being. And that's what
Mm,
makes you who you are today.
absolutely. And it's amazing to think about. There are so many memories in our subconscious that make up the whole, and some will get louder at certain seasons of our life because they're relevant. And so it's incredible to just, learn different parts of ourselves as we constantly evolve and we're not leaning into too much stagnation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting you say that because like growing up, like I was always told that I was too loud. And now as I got older and I started to sort of realize who I was, it was like, oh, you were loud because you had something to say, but nobody was listening to you. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, well now I have like this platform that I get to, talk and share. I'm like going, well, it was obviously meant to be like that. It was already predestined, but certain things needed to happen in my life to be able to actually land at this point.
Absolutely. That's so true. It's so beautiful. I think it's something that I coach on a lot. It comes up a lot around identity work and also for the business owners I work with, is that the things that they used to feel wrong for is now one of their greatest gifts. And so, one thing that comes up a lot is, when people get called shy as a kid, when they're reserving themselves or they want to step back, observe the scenario, see if they're safe, see where they want to place themselves. And that gets wronged as shyness when it's actually self-preservation. And so it's really interesting when we get caught up on these labels that have either been thrown onto us or we have chosen them as part of our identity that maybe can last for a season, but isn't always the deeper truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about the sisterhood stuff because last year I made an intention to call in my tribe. I'd always thought, oh, well, I decided to do this business. I've got to do it by myself, like the playing the martyr, I guess, in a way. but I'm like going, I can't do this anymore by myself. Like I need this tribe. How have you felt? Like obviously I know with what you're creating with this sisterhood, but how has like a tribe for you helped you with your business?
It's such a beautiful question. And it's incredible as well because I can relate to you on so many levels with that, that I've definitely played both roles in my life of Miss Independent. And my first business when I was 19 was in fashion. And I had that business for 5 years. Everything was done and dependent on me. I found there was so much to learn in that, and there was so much growth to be had. And I feel I needed to have that journey, but since then have done three other businesses, four in total, that three of which have been collaborative, have been with other people. And I found within that there's so many different points of value or things that have expanded me as a person, expanded the outcomes of those businesses. And one of the main points that I noticed was so important in collaboration and building with someone and creating a tribe was how much you actually get to expand from what you get to learn from other people. And very quickly had so many ego deaths in all of these businesses and different levels of I don't know everything. And even though our ego sometimes wants to think it does know everything and we are the best at what we do or whatever it is, there is always something to learn and there is always something to grow into. If there's nothing to overcome, there's nothing to become. And as soon as we think we know it all, we know nothing. And I found through the beautiful business partners I've had, the incredible people that are still my best friends today, and also the tribe, that knowledge for me was expanded tenfold by being open and receptive to not thinking I knew it all, and also being open to the way that other people see the world, the things that they have invested their time and energy into, and how they saw things in their life. Because at the end of the day, there is absolutely no right or wrong. There is just perception and the things that we give meaning and significance to. So expansion was the biggest one for me. And also the level of support having a business partner for me last year in Sisterhood was the foundation of which Sisterhood exists today. And although, we made a decision to not be in partnership anymore, it was the most beautiful, harmonious relationship and conversation that, my beautiful friend Tia is moving to Italy and didn't make sense. And both was necessary. Building it with her was necessary. Building it, I can't say by myself this year either, because it taught me the value of bringing other people in to help me build this business as well. And I think that as a leader, it's important for me to also showcase the importance of collaboration and community so that other women know they don't have to do it all alone.
Yeah.
There is so much to be said about actually building something with someone else. The same that goes for intimate relationships. So yeah, it's been a powerful lesson in my life.
Oh, I love it so much. I love it because I think there's, like we had the conversation just before, like we're independent, or we have the cliques and all that sort of stuff that we remember like growing up in, especially in high school. Like back in my day, there was like so much cliquiness happening,
Yeah,
and I was not part of that group at all. But it sort of like triggers you along your journey as becoming the person who you are today. And those
absolutely.
triggers, though, I think for me, what I've learned is they're propelling me forward opposed to holding me back, because those triggers are actually showing me of A, what I no longer want in my life, but also two, how I can actually make a difference.
Absolutely. I love that. And we were talking about that just before coming online. And it's so beautiful, Christine, because my experience growing up was going to an all-girls school, which I hated school, especially being a rebel. I was like, oh my God, all these systems and this structure and these boxes and these cliques. And I, by nature, wasn't someone that belonged in those spaces. I was, wanted to expand, explore, and be open. And so I really feel you and hear you on that it can be really testing and challenging when it's not you fit in, you don't fit in, or all of these experiences we have in life definitely teach us something. And it's an important lesson to learn, I think, both sides, because more power to us when you can live in both realities and have the wisdom in the middle of understanding both. And I definitely prefer not having clickiness now as an adult, having that being my high school reality, because that has definitely, helped me learn more. that I wouldn't know otherwise from just hanging out with the people that think the same, do the same. And like, there's a purpose behind that. And also, I want to learn from people that challenge my concept of understanding, that do it different, think different, are different, because that's where growth takes place as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a scary thing to sort of step into as well. Because I always say to my clients, I'm like, all we want to do some days is just crawl into bed, have that nice warm blanket over us, especially at the moment, like here, like, we're both sort of like Gold Coast area, like it's raining and, it's that winter weather that you just want to curl up in the blanket. But the true growth happens when you learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable
Mm.
and just accepting all, oh, okay, this is new. What could I learn from this? And the learning could be good and actually not so good as well.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think the discomfort only lasts as long as it does until it becomes comfortable and familiar. And then, then comes the next season of life. But I think when we know there is so much value around evolution and growing, it's like, okay, now we understand the purpose of discomfort. And so we can welcome it in a healthy way instead of shying away forever of, the scary parts that aren't familiar. So yes, 100% agree with that.
Yeah. What's been one of the biggest learning lessons, like as a person, for
Mhm.
you being in business?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. There's been some things that have shown up in business, and I almost find everything in business has been reflective of self. Like the places that I'm willing to go will be reflective in business. And anytime I'm scared of change or doing something outside my comfort zone, then it shows up in business. And I'd love to answer that in two different ways because the personal thing that I've learned, which will be reflective in business, is self-acceptance. And it is an ongoing journey. There are days when I wake up and I'm like, oh, there's parts of myself where I cringe and I'm not enjoying. And I'm like, oh my God, you shouldn't have said that thing. You shouldn't have done that thing. Or, ego shows up and I'm like, that was ugly. And, I'm human. Those things happen all the time. And yet the biggest thing that has allowed me to experience life at its fullest is coming into self-acceptance. And this has shown up in so many different ways. One of the most prominent ways was when I was 23 and chose to backpack across the world by myself, and just throw myself in the deep end with a suitcase, no plan, no agenda, nothing but a passport and a bag. Whereas, accepting that part of myself that desired that and not listening to everyone outside of me that had so many opinions about something they had never experienced. And that was scary and it was vulnerable and it was the best thing I have still done to date because I removed myself from everything that was familiar in order to truly trust myself. Does that mean I don't get tested frequently now? Absolutely not. But it has definitely built a stronger relationship with self. And the way that I think the biggest lesson that has shown up in business for me, I feel I almost learn things daily in business, is to act in fear instead of hiding or resisting fear. Because in business, just like life, business will reflect life, that business is changing and evolving all the time. And when you're doing, I've never done a business of this nature before, so everything is new to me. Yes, implementing some things I've known, but most of the time it's brand new things that I'm experiencing. That the part that I'm learning in that is to lean into that, say yes more, and just trust that it's okay to figure it out as you go. Because if you don't know what you don't know, yes, coaches and mentors have been such a support in that, but I'm still having the visceral experience, the physical experience, the emotional experience, the spiritual experience as I'm moving through that. And the more I can lean into that openness and expansion and not knowing the answer all the time, the more that things will move in a forward direction. And even if it goes back, I'm still moving up over space and time.
Oh, I love that so much because I always say to people, if you want to go on the biggest personal development journey ever,
Go
start a
snowboarding.
business. Just start a business. Start a business because you're going to learn so much more about yourself than what you ever thought about ever. And it is the fears, the insecurities, it's the self-doubt, but also too, you will also learn who is your cheerleaders
Mm-hmm.
as well. And I'm finding it's actually the cheerleaders that you actually never thought who are your biggest cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm.
And they're normally strangers, not family and friends.
Yeah, at different seasons as well, I feel. I feel what I've noticed through that, it depends on what the thing is that you're moving through as well. Some people can relate to it so much, and for some others, it's so foreign to them. I know for me personally, my family is not really business orientated, and I've really had to accept that it's okay to be different.
Yeah.
And it's okay if they don't naturally have an interest in what I do, they can support me to a level. But I have found that when asking business inquiries and wanting business advice, I have created a whole other tribe or family of friends and business owners that have been my main supporters in that as well. So it's so true. And it really, the common denominator I have found is what is the circumstance and who am I best to lean into for feedback and advice in this season of my life.
Oh, I love it. I got goosebumps you saying that. Like literally, I'm just like, oh my God, like I love that so much. I'm gonna steal it. So
It's yours. Take
thank
it.
you.
We can share it.
Um, when obviously, you know, like I know that you're all around like the personal development and, you know, learning more about yourself. Does that also affect the change of direction that you go in your business as well sometimes?
Yes. I was having this conversation today and learning to accept this part as well. I haven't always been comfortable about this part because when I look at a lot of successful businesses, there are systems and structures in place. And, a lot of advice is find your niche, find your clear cut process or answer, solution to the public, to the community that you are solving. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I've done so many different things in my life that for me to box myself into something has been so incredibly challenging. So the main thing that has helped me was one of my marketing friends said to me, Laura, imagine your life like a house. And so in that house, there's a whole bunch of rooms, there's different doorways, there's different hallways, there's probably different people that live in the house. And then there's a front door. And so when people see the front door, they only get a little snippet of what's available inside. And then once people enter your intimate space, they're welcomed into the home, they see all of you. And I feel that business is the same, is that even though in the background I'm constantly changing and moving and shaping and exploring new ideas, that I have to remind myself that that's how I get excited. That's how I get joy. That is how I fill my cup. That's how I get energized because I'm a visionary. And I have to remember that what I present to the front door
Yeah.
still needs to be semi-clear because it does break trust with, I think, a community as you're constantly chopping and changing things. So before I implement anything, there's a lot of conversations that take place before I just throw it out there to the public. And that's not to say that, Sisterhood as a business hasn't frequently changed in a lot of ways as well. But I also think it's relative in a first year business to find what you like and find what doesn't work and what you don't like and ask the community what are they seeking and what are they really looking for. So yes, frantic little duck in the background, like paddling under the water while I'm staying stagnant on the surface. And also there has been many changes in Sisterhood to the public as well. So yes, it's uncomfortable and exciting all at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I love everything that you do with it. Do you want to let people know how they can work with you and sort of be part of this sisterhood as well?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. So with Sisterhood Movement, there are many, many weekly events. We have 2 events every week, Breathe on the Beach on the Tuesday, Coffee and Connect on the Friday. That's been a consistent event we've had for a year and a half since we started. And they're both free events. So for anyone that's curious about how can I find my community, how can I find my tribe, how can I find myself as well in social settings, I think is really important too. They are free events, and we wanted to do it that way because we want it to be accessible to every woman out there. And this is important because I think, in life, we have so many excuses or things that can set us back. I never wanted finance to be one because I know that's held me back in my life. And so we have those 2 free events every week. Unless it's pouring outside, then we just move it to a cafe like Tuesday. But alongside that, there are many events throughout the year. We have new moon ceremonies, which explores the spiritual side of our being alongside breath work, tapping into yourself and the unseen that we want to understand, and then there's more logical business orientated events like networking and things like this. So there's a little bit of something for everyone alongside movement, physical health, and exercise. So you can find us on Instagram. We also have a website, the Sisterhood Movement GC. And personally, as a coach, I also coach one-on-one and in group programs. So that's all on my personal platform, Laura Gratton's Coaching, which is another service that I provide, which, is only for women. I just love working with women so much and love working in the one-on-one world and also the group facilitation because there's so much value behind both. So they're the main ways to reach out to me. And I love meeting new people. So always welcome.
I love it. I love it. So what we normally do is that we ask just a couple of random questions so that people can get to know you personally. But one thing that I always ask at my events is these two key questions. So what is one goal that you've achieved in the last 30 days that you haven't celebrated?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Being in a relationship.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
don't think I've stopped to really celebrate. I think I've been very business orientated, hadn't created space for intimacy, and it's been
Yeah,
really refreshing to welcome someone into my space. And I think that's a big growth journey for me.
perfect. I love that so much. Now, I'm also all about, like, obviously, we've got a huge community and we're all about supporting each other. So, what's one big goal that you've got in the next 30 days that you need help and support with?
Beautiful. It's interesting. I solved one of my biggest problems yesterday. So let's come up with something else. So a problem that needs solving the support over the next 30 days. Accountability.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been an accountability coach. There's a very strong desire there for me to also be held accountable to the things that I potentially not doing, and because I'm not getting in trouble for it, is having someone kick me up the butt and be like, "Hey, you could do more." So
Oh, well,
accountability.
I will be your coach
Thanks.
then for the next 30 days. You just DM me, tell me what we're doing, and then every week I'll check in.
I
Done.
appreciate that so
Done.
much. You have no
Done.
idea.
Done. All right. So we've got 5 rapid fire questions just for you. Just these are just fun personal questions. So
Beautiful.
people can get to know you. Are you a tea or coffee person in the morning?
Coffee.
Oh yeah, of course. You're my girl. Of course.
I admit an addiction, but
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, I have about 3 or 4 a day. It's so bad, but that's
Oh,
just
you
me.
are,
That's
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
doing better than me.
Yeah, that's okay. If you had some spare time, would you prefer to curl up with a book or watch a movie?
Book.
Do you like a Kindle or are you a physical book?
Definitely physical. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I
Old
am.
school.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
It's the
perfect.
only thing I collect. I'll throw every physical possession out except for my books. It's the
Yeah,
only thing that I'm still
yeah,
attached to.
yeah. I've got like books all over everywhere. So
Oh, I wish I
yeah,
could see it. You'll have to
yeah,
send me a
yeah.
photo after
It's
this. That
amazing.
excites me so
Yeah.
much.
If you could go and travel to your most divine destination, would you prefer to travel by boat or plane?
Oh, boat. Oh, no. What am I saying? Plane. My
Something's
mind
triggered in there.
went to Greece and I
Yeah.
was literally visualizing the yacht. So when you said boat, I was like, boat. I just wanted
Yeah.
to say Greece.
Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. If you are having a dinner party and you're allowed to invite just one special person from either the past or the present, who would it be?
My best friend Tia, hands down. She's the person I have the most incredible conversations with. And although, we get to speak daily, I could never get enough of her time. Like she just inspires me so much. I'll have to share this with her.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
Open.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. I'm excited to share this with everyone. Thank you so much, beautiful, for being here and just being such a shining light for everybody.
Thank you as well. I'd love to take some time just to thank you so much for the incredible space you've created for this conversation, and being in your presence the first time was so amazing. Like intuitively felt so drawn to you, and also to see your friends, the way that they talk about you and describe you was just so evident to the type of character that you are. So the incredible, powerful woman and someone that's going to definitely create a lot of change in this world. So thank you, Christine, for being who you are, and thank you for having me on today's podcast.
Oh, thank you, beautiful. That just means so much to me. Thank you, Laura. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in for this episode. If you've liked it, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Leave your comments below. And remember to live life to the fullest every single day. Love and light to you all.